Hey everybody, I'm Eric in Exile. Today we're going to be talking about the Mortyr franchise of World War II video games. Now this series of games had a great start, however it wouldn't last long and the series would end after only 5 games. So let's jump in and take a look into the lost franchise of Mortyr. Let's do it! And here we have the first Mortyr game, released in 1999. If you recall, last week's video showcased a couple of time travel-based games. This is relevant because this first Mortyr game switches around from 2093 to 1944. You play as Jurgen Mortyr, a Nazi officer in charge of the Nazi time machine. Jurgen's son Sebastian Mortyr is the only one that Jurgen trusts, and the only one that can go back to 1944 and stop the time machine from ever being used in the first place. Basically, the game is a first-person shooter with sci-fi elements, and the graphics are decent for the time as well. Back in 1999, I played this game and I beat this game. I had a blast with it. I had no complaints with the first Mortyr game. I remembered I couldn't wait until the next Mortyr game came out, which was 5 years later. Mortyr 2 was released in 2004. The Nazis are on the verge of being defeated. They've decided to build new experimental weaponry. A British paratrooper and intelligence officer named Sven Mortyr is sent on a mission to rescue his own father, who's been captured and is being forced to work on the covert weapons project. Now, as a side note here, the first Mortyr game had a similar dynamic. Jurgen Mortyr and Sebastian Mortyr were both trying to stop the time machine, whereas in Mortyr 2, there was the father-son dynamic there as well. However, this time, the father-son duo are on the British side, not the Nazi side, like in the first Mortyr game. The weapons and environment in the game are a huge upgrade from the first Mortyr for sure. The only thing that bugs me about this game is that it seems to have the Terminator effect, where you can just do whatever you want with the story's timeline willy-nilly. In any case, we never go back to the time travel thing, and there's a reason for that. Next up is Battlestrike Force of Resistance, also known as Mortyr 3. Yes, that came straight from Wikipedia. Here is when we see the first clear signs of change, and that change would come in the form of World War II games such as Medal of Honor, Call of Duty, and Battlefield 1942, and a whole other slew of games in that genre. The whole time travel idea is completely gone now. In its place, we see more realism, more strategy, and more true history. Mortyr 3 probably didn't have the resources to go toe-to-toe with the likes of Medal of Honor or Call of Duty. If the Mortyr series was to survive, it would need to adapt. It would be a struggle from that point on, though. Successful game developers with deep pockets had the ability to make great games and get them out to the public. However, the Mortyr franchise still had some tricks up their sleeves as well. Operation Thunderstorm, also known as Mortyr 4, again straight from Wikipedia, came roaring back into action. This game had a great premise of eliminating the main leaders of the Third Reich. The targets were Joseph Goebbels, Heinrich Himmler, and Hermann Goering. But once again, the bigger franchises of the World War II games were reaching critical mass. Mortyr 4 had a great story. There was a lot of stealth, there were plenty of shooting bad guys, but what it all eventually came down to was that Mortyr 4 was a good game, but the other franchises were simply better. Competition was fierce at that time. The other franchises were stepping up their games and releasing more and more content. There were a lot of expansions released, and there was just no way a game like Mortyr 4 could keep up. At this point, the writing was on the wall. But wait, there is another. Here, at the end, we have Battlestrike Force of Resistance 2, also known as Shadow of Stalingrad. There is no mention of Mortyr whatsoever in this game. The only link this game has to anything is that it is a direct sequel to the original Battle-Strike Force of Resistance. It's a real shame too. This game was great. Plenty of action, cool places to fight in. Again, this game had all the makings of a great time, but it just wasn't to be. I really liked all of these games. I liked them all the way back to the first Mortyr. I think that if it wasn't for the big boom of the World War II games, the Mortyr franchise could have risen to the top of the genre. Alas, it was not to be. I don't know of any other Mortyr games other than the ones I've spoken about today. It's a shame that the Mortyr franchise died out. If anyone knows about any other Mortyr games out there, let me know. If you like what I'm doing here, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Share this video with your friends. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I post a brand new video every Friday, so click that notification bell to be notified when it goes live. Let me know what you think about Mortyr down in the comments below. Want to thank everybody for joining in today, and I'll see you in the next video.